And please take a comfortable seat according to your own body's needs. I see that some of you are sitting on the floor, some kneeling, some cross-legged, some have a physio ball, that's what I'm using, some are sitting in a chair, just to be at home in your body. You're welcome to close your eyes. And then invite your senses to take in the present moment. Nature is always living in the present moment. And nature doesn't narrate herself to herself. So I'm going to recommend that you let your senses come into the present without narrating the present moment to yourself. You might start with the most subtle senses in this particular moment, like the sense of smell or taste. If your eyes are closed, the sense of sight is also a bit more subtle. You might be feeling the light against your eyelids, for example. And then the sense of sound becomes a little bit more dense, less subtle, because sound is actually occurring. But the space in which sound is happening, that's considered more subtle than sound. And then the sensations of your physical body, those are considered more dense. So like your seat or your feet, even your body temperature, the texture of the clothing against your skin, these are all considered to be more dense sensations. The path of yoga recommends that we cultivate attention on this full spectrum, from the most dynamic or the most dense to the most subtle, and more subtle yet again, subtle. When we have attention for the subtle, we're able to sense the rising of certain vrittis or thoughts and certain patterns, samskaras. We can sense them rising before they become completely manifest. If we don't have attention for the subtle, those vrittis or samskaras have to be manifest dynamically or in the dense body, and then we come to know them. But being aware of the subtle is going to give us a chance to have less mental mayhem, to be less often blindsided when our intuition is confused with impulse, or to be less often blindsided when emotions kick up that we didn't even realize there was an accumulation. Our capacity for the subtle is also going to help us so much right now, where there seem to be really important, very significant, life-changing, history-changing events occurring. And people are all experiencing it in unique ways. Some shared ways, but also some unique ways. our capacity for the subtle will make our hearts more available to those who are not experiencing this historically significant event as we might be. And this could be true really anytime, anywhere, that our capacity for the subtle will allow our hearts to be available to the subtle activations in others with compassion, perspective, kindness. And one of the duties on the path of yoga to be a yoga warrior is that our hearts can be available to what's happening in both ourselves and in others. So we're going to use a chanting practice right now that can help you train your mind for the subtle. So when I inhale, I'll be inhaling in silence. And then I exhale and I sing the line of the chant, and you're going to sing that with me. During the inhale, I want you to hear the echo of the line that you just sang and not to be preparing for the line that's coming next. So this is an important practice that during the inhale after you chant, let's say you say, Sahana Vavatu. When you're inhaling, I want you to hear that sound echoed in you. Not to be preparing for the next line, but be to hearing the echo of the line you just sang. And let's see how it goes. Join your hands together at your heart. And a reminder that the word saha means together. Maybe together bring about dharma, wisdom. Maybe together bring about karma, change or transformation. Maybe together bring in discernment, viveka. Maybe together bring in mercy, daya. May we together see to the welfare of everyone and everything, Sahadeva. So during my inhale, I'll be silent, of course, and then I'll chant. You can chant with me. During your inhale, listen for the echo. The echo will be installed in your heart, in your ears. Let's begin. Sahana Vavatu. Sahana Bhunaktu. Saviryam Karavavai. Tejasvinavaditamastu. Ma Virvishavai. Sana Vavatu. Sahana Bhunaktu. Saviryam Karavavai. Tejasvinavaditamastu. Ma vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. And with your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. And sitting quietly for a few moments more, just observe the influence of that, which was pranayama and chanting, extroverting and introverting, expressing and echoing. Will you please interlace your fingers, press the heels of your hands forward, rise up overhead. As you inhale, we're going to breathe in through the nose and we'll look up during the inhale. And when you exhale, we're going to blow out through the mouth and bring the hands down so that your pinkies, the sides of your pinkies here, go at the base of your skull. And then we'll be inhaling to lift the chest, elbows, and heart. We'll be looking up. And then we're going to exhale again to blow out through the nose, through the mouth, and we'll take the arms up. So let's do that together, please. Okay, inhale through the nose. Okay, blowing out. Inhale through your nose, elbows forward, chest, heart, collarbones, and gaze up. Blowing out. Inhale, opening. Exhale, twist right. Inhale, rise up. Hands behind your head. Inhale, elbows forward, chest and heart up. Pressing up. Inhale, opening. Exhale, twist left. Rotate to center. Okay, now we're going to go to the floor and I'll change my camera so you can see the floor view. When we come to the floor, you'll need 2 blankets folded. They're going to go underneath your hips. So the 2 folded blankets, we're going to be doing some work right now with pranayama, but with also the strength of the deep low belly. So you can take these 2 blankets, something like this. I find that if you fold them lengthwise and then in half twice, you're going to have extra blanket left to right, and that extra blanket we're going to be using. Okay, so let's place it like this and start with your hips centered on the blankets. Check that you've got room overhead for both arms, and you've got room out in front for one leg at a time, and you know that the space you're working in can support that. Okay, so then bring the knees, excuse me, the knees up and let them drop in, because gravity helps for that to happen. And on the inhale, raise both arms up, breathe in through your nose, take your arms overhead. And then exhale, blow out like a straw through the mouth. Inhale, raise your knees up to the ceiling. And exhale, return your hands to where they began. Inhale, arms up, breathe through your nose. Exhale, squeeze your knees in. Inhale, knees up. Exhale the arms. Once more, inhale both arms overhead. Exhale, squeeze your knees in. Inhale, knees up. Exhale, both arms. Now inhale, take your left arm overhead and your right leg out straight. Bring the left knee in close to your chest. And then exhale, return to the starting position. Now right arm, left leg. Return to your starting position. Left arm, right leg. Return. Right arm, left leg. Return. Once more on each side. Last one. And then touch your toes down to the floor and let the lower belly relax a moment. So especially from the top of your hip bones down to the pubic bone, let that region of your abdomen relax. And listen for the subtle echo at the end of that brief activity. Now I'd like you to lift your hips and put the blanket so that you have extra blanket on the left side. Okay, so I call that moving the blankets like a typewriter bar. So move it over. You've got enough blanket over here that you could put both thighs stacked together on the blanket. Okay. And then take the arms out into a T shape. So you're going to inhale when the knees are at the center here or returning to center. And then exhale both knees down to your left without quite touching all the way to the blanket. We're going to inhale the knees up, and that'll be through the nose. So breathe in. And then exhale, blow out like a straw, knees to the left. Inhale, knees up. Exhale, knees left. Inhale, knees up. Exhale, knees left. One more time, inhale to come up. And this time, breathe out through your nose and go slowly down until your left thigh is supported by the blanket and your right thigh is supported by your left thigh. You may rest your left hand on your right knee. Try to keep your feet at the same height as your shins, even though there's no technical support there for your feet. I believe that you can do it. And then allow the inner body to twist to your right. You may also turn your head to your right. And listen for the subtle echo of the abdominal work you were doing. It's not difficult abdominal work, but there was some toning, releasing, toning, releasing, toning. Now allow there to be the release phase. And then release your left hand down to the floor if you were using it. Bring your head to center and lift both knees back up to center where you started. Now touch both feet to the floor. Pick up your hips and shift them so you're going to be on your left hip. Then lengthen the left leg out. Bring your right knee up and over. And if possible, you can rest your right knee on the blanket. It's not going to be possible for everyone. Raise your right arm up as you inhale. And then exhale, open to your right. So inhale, raise up with your right arm, breathe through your nose. Exhale, blow out. Inhale, raise up. Exhale, blow out. Inhale, rise up. And blow out. Last one, inhale to come up. And then exhale slowly out. Breathe through your nose. Exhale through the nose and come down and down to what your personal capacity is for the pose, for the twist, with your hips elevated. And then roll yourself back to center. Bring your right foot flat to the floor, left foot flat to the floor. Center your hips and pause. Notice now what's happening in the deep low belly. Also notice any increased capacity your mind might have for dropping down into the pelvis. Like you're clearing the space to come back home to. Now we're going to put the blanket's typewriter bar to the other side. And then you can check that you've got space over there for both of your thighs to be on the blanket. Bring your knees up to the starting position. Arms up in a T shape. Knees up, we're going to be inhaling through the nose. Knees down, we'll be exhaling through the mouth. Let's begin. Inhale up. Exhale down to your right. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, right. Again. Now last one, inhale, rise up. When we go down this time, you're going to exhale out through the nose. And think of it as being a little slower, probably a little bit longer exhale. You're going to stay down in the pose for a bit. So you can rest your right thigh on the blanket if it reaches, left thigh on the right thigh. Twist your chest and your heart to your left. And try to keep your feet hovering at about the same height as your shins and your knees. And listen for any sense of the subtle release in your lower belly. And sometimes that subtle release, it has layers, and you can sense there's a sort of dropping in, and then a little dropping in, and then a bit more dropping in. And now inhale to bring both knees up to center. And touch your toes to the floor and then your heels. Stretch the right leg out straight. Pick up your hips and shift to your right outer hip. So your left knee is going to come up and over. Raise your left arm up towards the ceiling. With your right leg, go ahead and keep it long and strong. So you might have the outside edge of your foot touching the floor. My hope is that it does touch something so it's more stable. And then left arm up as you inhale. And exhale, open to your left. Inhale to lift. Inhale up. Twice more. Last one. This time breathe out through your nose. We're coming down to stay for a short while. We're trying to decompress the body in specific ways. It's not just that the body might have felt compressed, the mind, the emotions, the society. And then exhale, roll back to center. So you'll place the left toes on the floor, the right toes on the floor, center your hips, and pause to notice any ease or greater access to the subtle in your pelvis and your low belly. And then please roll to your side to come off of your blanket. And since we have the blankets here and we're at the ready, oh, and I know that you haven't had waffles or pancakes before class. Now, one of you did that a couple weeks ago. I hope you didn't do that today. We're going to take the top blanket and make it folded one more time. So you've got this thin, this is for the belly bolster, and you can always opt out of belly bolster. You can also make it less intense by using only one blanket, or taking the bottom blanket and putting it aside, for example. So we're going to place the belly button on the high point of the blankets right here. And come down onto your forearms and rest your head. And my hope is, and my experience is, that this actually gets easier for people. It gets more comfortable. When you first rest on this, if you haven't done this with me before, of course, you might be feeling like, oh my God, why are we doing this? Well, the pressure, the compression, the tension, the angst, the anxiety, the physiology of holding, it has a residue in the body. And a lot of that residue is actually in the organs, in your digestion, in your abdomen, in your breathing. So we are resting on the belly, on this belly bolster right now, for the purpose of releasing. So see to what extent you can soften around the bolster. Like where in the abdomen can you actually soften a bit? Or maybe it's in your tongue or your teeth or your eyes. And quite likely these sensations are not subtle. These are the ones that are dynamic and dense. So then come up to your elbows like you're going to go to slumber party pose. Curl your toes under. Press down into both elbows, strengthen your shoulders. Straighten your left leg, your right leg, and then lift the low belly up off of the bolster so you're in plank pose on your elbows. Now you're using the belly muscles that you were just trying to release. Broaden the back of your waist, lengthen your tailbone. Keep the breath coming and going. And then lightly touch your belly button back down and walk the toes back and the elbows a little bit forward. And this time you're going to bend both knees, place your shins up towards the ceiling, rest your head down on the back of your hands. And with the knees bent and the feet lifted, start to roll your shins side to side like windshield wipers. And you can do that just as slowly as you want to, because you are going to move across some less than subtle terrain. Right? So this is going to be more dense, more dynamic. Maybe more dramatic would be a word you might use. And so as you're going side to side slowly, what you could start paying attention to is when the dynamic sensation begins to fade, our attention usually goes to the next dynamic sensation. But could you give attention to the sensations that are dissolving? Knowing you have lots of practice to give attention to the sensations that are arriving. Can you focus on the ones that are departing? Like when I roll the belly on the blanket to my left side, I actually am touching my left hip bone in a place that I didn't even know was tender. So when I shift the shins, can I watch that sensation at the left hip bone dissolving? Our minds do tend to go to that which is arising, that which is coming. So this is a practice of noticing also that which is dissolving. Let's bring it back to center. Come to your elbows again, like setting up for dolphin plank pose. Curl the toes under, strengthen both legs, strengthen both elbows and shoulders. Press down and then lift into your lower belly and come to your dolphin plank pose. Let's make this a breathable experience. So your inhale and exhale through your nose. And then lightly touch your knees down and reach backwards to child's pose. And because we have our blankets, let's use the blankets for the forehead. You can rest your hands over the blankets too. And let the lower belly have some space here so the thighs are not touching each other. Your lower abdomen can relax. Okay, so one more practice for decompression. Now, put the blanket back how you first folded it. Take one of your blocks, it's going to be for your head. The blankets are now going to be for your upper back, your chest, and your heart. So you lie down, place your upper back on the blankets, put a block behind your head. My block is on the flat setting, but I have a flexible upper back and thoracic spine. Take the arms out in a T shape. Let's do knees bent with your feet as wide as your yoga mat. And then just slowly windshield wiper your knees down to your right and up to center and down to your left. And yes, I'm using the phrase windshield wipers again. These are like the windshield wipers on the Trailways bus, you know, those really big ones. The other ones were just the little windshield wipers on your car. And as you move the knees up and down side to side, the twist is, let's say, knees left, chest and heart right. Encourage the lower belly, mid belly, and even the upper belly to be a part of the release. You can smile at your body as it lets go of pressure, even the places you didn't realize were compressed. Maybe you have areas that you didn't realize you were holding. Let's do this once more to the right and to the left. And then roll this back to center. And how fortunate that you are here in yoga class. Take your arms overhead as a big celebration. Arms overhead and the legs out. Give yourself a big stretch. And for anyone for whom your upper back is limber enough that you don't need the block under your head, go ahead and take that block and set it aside. And not on your glasses. Stretch in both directions, into your heels, into your fingers. Take a deep breath in. And then what you can do is hold the back of your head and do a little sit up and then curl yourself forward and up. Rise up to sitting. Okay. Yeah, you are decompressed. I hope you feel decompressed. And we're going to come into Surya Namaskar. Let's keep these blankets for a little bit later in class. And rise up to standing, please. Okay, let me check that I got my camera. It's okay, let me just give it a little adjustment. I never like to have the camera cutting my head off when I'm teaching. Okay, so are you guys feeling decompressed? I hope. Some decompression. Oh, now it's crooked. You don't need to be made nauseous doing yoga. Let's try that and see. Okay, well, it's still a little, I don't know why it doesn't straighten itself out. It should be magical, except that it's not. Okay. All right, let's try that. Please step forward and bring your hands to your heart. There are many ways that people decompress in daily life. I think yoga is a very effective way of decompressing and has what I would call only positive echoes, whereas some of the other decompressions actually leave a residue, like decompressing with TV or sugar or carbs, or decompressing just with anger, for example, or decompressing alcohol. So you're decompressing right now with your yoga practice. Notice your ability to feel what is more subtle in the present moment. Begin using your Ujjayi breath. Listen for the sound of the breath. Commit to making it smooth. Notice the pauses in your breath cycle and how you arrive to each of the pauses and how you depart from each of the pauses. These are very small increments of time. And notice how you arrive into the inhale pause, how you depart from the inhale pause into your exhale, and how you arrive into your exhale pause, and how you depart from the exhale pause into your inhalation. And begin to energize your leg muscles. And when you feel toned from your hips to your heels, then inhale Ujjayi and reach up. Exhale, chair pose, Utkatasana. Notice your transition to the pause. Inhale, rise up. Energize your legs and exhale as you bow forward. Notice the sensations that are dissolving or departing, not only the ones that are arriving. Inhale, glide forward through your heart. Exhale, take your left toes straight back. Inhale, rise up. Notice the sensations of your fingers leaving the floor. For example, that is a sensation that was departing. And exhale, bow forward. Maybe you notice the lessening of sensation across your left hip flexors. Let's go back up, please. Inhale, glide. Exhale, descend. Inhale, gliding up. And exhale, descend. Now we're going to inhale to step forward. You might observe the left toes leaving the floor and that sensation dissolving. And bow towards your legs, Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward through your heart. Exhale, right toes back. So your right heel is going to leave the floor. Now the fingers will leave the floor. Inhale, glide up. Exhale, descend. Inhale, glide up. Exhale, descend. One more time. And exhale, descend. Step backwards, downward dog pose. So downward dog is stable enough for most of you. I think I could say for all of you. I'm just saying most so you can decide for yourself. But it's stable enough that you can again notice, how do you arrive for the inhale pause? How do you depart into your exhale? In a moment, we're going to inhale forward to plank pose. So see if you can pay attention to the sensations that are dissolving, the ones that are departing. And then we're going to exhale down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Point your toes. Inhale, rise up, Bhujangasana. Draw your heart forward. Exhale, roll down. Notice the sensations that are departing. Keep the legs toned, please. Inhale, rise up. Breathe through your nose. Exhale, glide down. Inhale, glide up. And exhale, glide down. Twice more. Notice the sensations that are dissolving. In every moment, there are sensations departing, even though there are also sensations arriving. The last one. Curl your toes under. Press up to plank pose. And then reach backwards, downward facing dog pose. With an exhale, step your awkward foot forward first, and then your second foot forward, come to Uttanasana. And inhale, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. And then hands to your heart. Stand inside the subtle experience. Now bend both knees, and from where you're standing, put your weight into your right leg and take the left toes back so that your left heel is actually on the floor. And I'm going to ask you to step back only as far as you can, where your left heel is grounded, and you can have your hips squared forward, more or less. So if you step back too far, it'll be harder and harder to center your pelvis because the feet will distort what's happening with your shins, knees, and thighs. If you step back less far, you're going to have greater ease here, but look for the balance between a slight challenge and good access to the experience. Zip the pubic bone up. Rest your hands on your hips here and bring your gaze down towards the floor. You can close your eyes. It might become a balance pose for some of you. And as you close your eyes, press into your left big toe, the mound of the big toe, the left inner heel. Energize the inseam of your left leg up into the upper inner left thigh. Tone your left butt and lift your left hip bone and the left side of the pubic bone. It's not that the right side won't also come, but I want you to keep your attention focused there. Now begin to press down in your hands more firmly against your pelvic bones. And see if that downward pressure can cause two things to happen. One, your back leg gets more rooted. The second thing that might happen is that the inner body starts to feel a little bit lighter. So as you press your palms down against your hip bones, lift your inner body, lift your rib cage up away from your hips, roll your shoulders back, and then begin to gaze up. Lift your heart, your collarbones, and your eyes. And now let's add the arms. Sweep your palms out to the side and rise up into Virabhadrasana 1, keeping your left leg, your back leg, very grounded. Bring your fingertips and your thumbs together if you can. The pose goes up, not only back. Now keeping your left leg steady, start to level your gaze, sweep your arms out to the side. Bow over your right leg, but keep the left leg very stable. And notice which sensations are departing, which sensations are arriving. Bring your fingertips down next to your right toes. Start gazing back towards your left inner heel. So you're coming into a kind of cat pose spine right now. Keep the left leg very strong from your big toe to your inner heel, up the inseam of your left leg into your left hip. Okay, now your left foot is about to leave the floor. You're going to notice the absence of those sensations. When you next exhale, take your fingers and thumbs forward and float onto your right leg. It's called Ekapada Uttanasana. Level your hips to face the floor. Energize your left leg behind you. Breathe in through your nose. And then exhale, bend your right knee and aim just the left big toe to the floor first. You're going to go back to the very same footprint you just had. So left big toe, mound of the big toe, your left inner heel, gaze back like cat pose, root your left heel, energize your left leg, and then rising up in reverse. Sweep your arms wide, root from your right hip to your right heel, tone the left butt. Remember what happens at your left hip flexors, left pubic bone. Rise up, Virabhadrasana 1. And now we're going to exhale and step forward to mountain pose. So your left foot is about to leave the floor. Notice again the sensations departing before you place your left foot in mountain pose. And pause to feel the subtle recalibration that your body's going through right now. And bend both knees, put your weight into your left leg, take the right toes back. Again, you're going to choose the length of your stride based on your ability to have your hips facing forward. And not based on that ability 10 years ago or 10 days ago, but the ability you have right now, today. Place your hands on your hips. You may close your eyes. It could become a balance pose for you. Press into your right big toe, the mound of the big toe, your right inner heel, the outside edge of your foot. Energize the inseam of your right leg. And then tone your right butt muscles. They're not just hanging on the back of your butt like a towel on the bathroom bar. Tone the right butt muscles. Lift your right hip bone up, lift the pubic bones up. Focus on the right side, which might be getting pulled slightly down. And then press your hands firmly into your hips so the inner body has this support from the outer body to decompress. And turn your palms face up. And as you begin rising up, also lift your gaze, keep the strength of your right leg. When the pose goes up, it is a back bend pose, but it's really a back bend in your thoracic spine, supported by all the elements that start from your feet. Now, as you exhale, open your arms wide. Begin to come forward. Notice what sensations are departing, which ones are emerging. And as you come down to touch with your fingers on either side of your right foot, gaze towards your left heel. Make it like cat pose. And then walk your fingertips forward. And because your right foot is about to leave the floor, you're going to have the chance to notice sensations that are departing. So step into your left foot and heel, raise your right foot, Ekapada Uttanasana. Keep your left outer hip strong so you're not leaning into your left thigh bone or hip socket. Stand right over the center of your hip joint, over the center of your left heel. And then bend your left knee and take the right big toe to the floor. Mound the big toe, inner heel, the outer edge of your foot. Come into your cat pose here so you can really feel the effort to make the right leg more anchored. Now your fingers will leave the floor. And as you rise up through your torso, Root down into your right leg to support the lift of the inner body. And in a moment, your right foot is again going to depart from the floor, although temporary. Pay attention to it. And please step your right foot forward to mountain pose. Take your time to place your foot. Notice the decompression. And I'd like you to take your 2 blocks and one of your blankets to sit on, please. And we'll take the 2 blocks, they're going to go lengthwise next to each other like this, like you're making a little bench. And then the blanket to give some padding to the bench. And take a seat with the feet, getting ready for Baddha Konasana. I realize you're sitting up higher than you might normally. Let's come forward to a gentle version of Baddha Konasana. And bring your attention back into the breath and the inner body. You don't have to make any particular effort for the breath right now. You can practice observing it. So sitting up on these blocks like this little bench that we have, we're going to do a few things where there will be compression on the lower belly, a couple of twisting poses. And begin to walk yourself up to sitting. And when you arrive in sitting, notice the sensations that departed for you to come upright. Now we're going to take the feet out. So this is like, what shall I say? They're diagonal. Your feet are diagonal. And the thighs and the feet point in the same direction. And we're going to come forward. It's like a variation on Baddha Konasana. This is not one of our twisting poses yet. So right now we don't have pressure against the belly. As you come forward, there might be the inclination for the knees to sort of fold up towards the shoulders, but see if you can keep pressing from your inner thighs out into your knees. And of course, we do tend to notice the sensations that are strong or getting stronger. But see if you might put attention on a place of subtle sensation. Like if the inner thighs are dynamic, maybe you could notice for a moment your eyebrows. Or your lips, which do not need to be tense. And since you're doing a forward bend, the lips can actually relax and gravity welcomes them to do so. Now, as you walk yourself back up to sitting, observe how some sensations will be departing as you fold the knees up. And then take your left leg out straight, like this. You raise up through your left arm, twist to your right, and you can hook the left elbow to the outside of your right knee. And for some of you, that hook is going to be very comfortable, and you're someone who can also bring the hands up like so. For me, that lessens the contact that I have with my left arm on the outside of my knee. So I do keep my left arm straight. It's a stronger pose for me that way. And then please twist to your right. And there is a purposeful compression in two places here, your right hip joint and the belly and torso. And notice how your body is responding to the compression, which will become decompression in a short while. And then exhale, when you come around to face forward, even though you're sitting up on this little bench, take both legs out to Dandasana and just notice the temperature of the right leg relative to the left. And then bend your left knee. Raise your right arm up and twist to your left. Twisting that you're doing here is on purpose. So if your body doesn't like to feel compressed, you might remind it that you're doing this on purpose. And we have compressed the left hip joint and also the abdomen and the belly. As you stay with your pose for a few more breath cycles, you can check for any subtle sensation that your mind does not need to be only preoccupied with that which is dynamic. You might also notice the toes of your right foot. Or your right earlobe, for example. And then when you do exhale and you come around to face forward, take your left leg out, right leg out, and notice any temperature change between them, any temperature difference between them. Okay, and now bend your right knee and walk your right foot out on this diagonal with your foot flat on the floor this time. So it may tip a little bit open, but I'd like you to try to keep it flat. And we're going to be going down towards the left foot. So inhale, raise your right arm up. And then exhale, come forward. And you may be someone who can hold your left heel with your right hand, or perhaps you can't do that. Press your right knee back towards the wall behind you. Lengthen your spine forward and add a little twist in your upper back to your left. This pose may have some dynamic sensations for you. It may also have some subtle sensations. the twist of the upper back to your left, for example, will tend to feel more subtle than a stretch you might have in your hips or hamstrings or inner thighs. And I'm going to ask you to place your attention on the subtle sensation. And when you rise up to sitting, observe that some sensations are departing. Take your right leg back out to Dandasana. Notice what's happening for your mind when we kind of clear out the pelvis. Is it possible for your mind to go back home, to take a seat in your center of gravity? And take the left leg up. Walk your toes out to the left. Inhale, raise your left arm. And then come forward. A little twist of the upper back to your right. And that will tend to get less of your attention because it's more subtle, not more dynamic. So practice noticing the subtle. And breathing in another time, notice the subtle sensations of twisting your upper back to your right. And then let's exhale to unwind and rise up one more time to Dandasana. Okay, and then we're going to use the 2 blankets and the 2 blocks for Shavasana. So let's take the 2 blankets and stack them, please. Put the 2 blocks within reach. Lie on your back with your blankets for your knees. And check that that makes sense to you where you've got the knees right now. Okay, and then what you're going to do is keep the 2 blankets like a little speed bump for your feet. And the 2 blocks, we go like this into Baddha Konasana. So what's important is that your feet aren't going to just slip out over the blankets right now. So you put the feet kind of on the front side, this side of the blanket, so your feet don't just get ejected. And then put the 2 blocks, please, to support your knees. And let's imagine now the decompression that can happen in the lower belly and the pelvis, so that the mind, it knows it has a place to come back home to what is really your center of gravity. I'm going to ask you to go inside the pelvis and to imagine this subtle but consistent decompression, 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 as if you were releasing air pressure from, let's say, an inner tube, or you're decompressing like as if you had something filled to its capacity and you're slowly one grain of sand at a time, or one drop of water at a time, you're releasing the pressure. And as you do this, let's remind ourselves that a lot of the pressure, the reason for pressure, is also engaging our thoughts. So let your mind relax, relax, and even more deeply relax. Imagine again the decompression of the abdomen, both what you know you've been holding and even stuff you didn't know you were holding. And see if you can observe the sensations of pressure or tension dissolving. Allow the process of decompressing to continue, noticing even more subtle ways in which tension is permitted to release. Allow the process to continue without intrusion or coercion from your own thoughts. Now, allowing for the continuation, if your body would like to, you can stretch the legs out into a more traditional Shavasana, or you may keep the legs as they just were. And visualize inside the decompressed space not only allows your mind to come back home, also allows you to be a portal, a vessel for compassion, perspective, understanding, action. Allow the decompression to continue for one more minute, noticing even the more subtle, and more subtle yet again. And then over the next few moments, begin to welcome your breath to come into the subtle space that you were decompressing. And sense the presence of the breath. With it comes your renewed capacity to be present to others, present to life, and to sense the subtle, not only the dynamic. And you may lightly deepen your breathing again. This time, add to that a little wiggle to your fingers and your toes. And please bend your knees when you're ready to, and you can roll to your side and come back up to find your seat. And considering that when you come up to your seat, considering again, people have very diverse experiences to the same event. How will we be a part of the necessary collaboration that is healing? If we have less divisiveness in us, more access to the subtlety, so we know when we're flinching or when we're tensing, we'll know, we get a signal. We say, oh, do I want to be divisive right now? Do I want to be a safe harbor for diverse perspectives? How will we know? To be a part of healing, we will not be able to stay in divisiveness or compartmentalized. So considering this as part of our task, please bring your hands together at your heart, the left hand, the right hand, meeting together. Past and future, meeting together in the present. And we can sing Om Shanti together 3 times. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. And I will come up to say hi to you more closely. I have to switch the camera view so I can see you better and you can see me. You're welcome. Thanks for chatting, leaving a chat before you have to go. Yeah. How is the practice feeling?